This is all about Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things questions and markets related to Bitcoin, little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B for the network. A collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation, all Bitcoin, all the time. Let's have a live look at Bitcoin, shall we? Right now, the CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index is trading at $62,806. Bitcoin is down about 6% over the past 24 hours. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as the leader in crypto news, events, and data.
The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app.
Amid Bitcoin's rally to a new all-time high Wednesday, just under $67,000, the market capitalization for all cryptocurrencies has pushed to a new record of $2.7 trillion, according to CoinGecko data. And the industry's total market cap has more than tripled since the beginning of this year. The surge in the overall industry's valuation comes amid acceptance by U.S. regulators of the country's first Bitcoin-linked ETF and Wall Street's growing interest in cryptocurrencies as a legitimate asset class for investors. The total crypto market cap now exceeds shares of Apple and is roughly double that of Silver's at $1.4 trillion, according to companiesmarketcap.com. Nevertheless, a word of caution. Bitcoin remains on the offensive amid the strong debut of ProShares' Bitcoin Futures ETF earlier this week. Analysts foreseeing a rally toward $86,000 in the coming weeks. However, it may not be a smooth ride as the derivatives market is beginning to show signs of overheating, with Bitcoin's average funding rate, or the cost of holding long positions in perpetual futures listed on major exchanges, rising to about 6 basis points. Although a positive funding rate represents an upbeat market mood, a very high reading indicates that the leverage is heavily skewed on the bullish side and often paves the way for bullish price backs. All right, joining us now to discuss is Joe DiPasquale, CEO of open-ended crypto hedge fund BitBull Capital. Hi there, Joe. Good afternoon. So what do you make of this pullback we're seeing in Bitcoin after reaching all-time highs just the other day? Oh, I think you're on mute, Joe.
Thanks, Christine. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been interesting to see the last day's pullback, about 6 or 7%, as you said in the last day. I'm still heartened by how Bitcoin has again exceeded 100% gains this year, and even this month, well above 30% gains. So it doesn't concern me. I think, in technical analysis wise, we saw a bull flag, and now it'll be about, can Bitcoin find support at 60K?
All right. So what opportunities are you seizing amid these all-time highs that we have been seeing for Bitcoin? Or is now a time just to take a breather and maybe rest on your laurels for now?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things that we've seen. One, as you mentioned already, the inefficiencies that you can see in the Bitcoin futures markets, or especially the futures ETFs. So there can be some plays around that, around those inefficiencies and pricing being off. Although what I would say is that, as you said, the leverage does create some danger. So when traders do get washed out, you can see these large moves in Bitcoin, including down. So there are some moves to be had, but in general, Bitcoin is an accumulation play. It's we've seen that people are investing more and more in Bitcoin, especially as inflation is expected to increase, and that I don't see any stop to people's expectations of inflation.
Right. There has been a lot of conversation around the premium, the contango around these Bitcoin futures ETFs. So I suppose you don't see yourself investing in them anytime soon, or do you? And if not, who's buying into these?
So, actually there is space for hedge funds and active managed hedge funds like BitBull in these ETFs. And that's when the pricing doesn't make sense. So we have seen a lot of times the futures contracts of Bitcoin being very out of whack with the spot price. And that's when, inefficiencies open up and opportunities for actively managed hedge funds open up as well. To your point, though, we've seen a lot of space in Bitcoin and in the futures ETFs, even around, the murmurs that I'm hearing are even around larger institutions. We actually saw the first pension fund invest in a hedge fund last crypto hedge fund last week. And in terms of the futures ETFs, I think there's a lot of interest in specifically an ETF and one supported by the SEC and Gary Gensler as well.
Are you taking advantage of the arbitrage opportunities presented by these Bitcoin futures?
Right now, there's some risk in the area, so I don't think it's the time to do a volatility play at the moment. I think it's the time to see if the support lands at 60K, and in that case, hold. As we saw, I remember about a year ago, September of last year, Bitcoin was just hovering at around 10K, and people said, maybe it'll go lower, but then we saw it shoot up to its former high of over 60K. So I don't think it's a time to buy and sell. I think it's a time to hold and see what happens.
We're tracking huge investment into the space. The crypto market cap is now at a record high. Where is BitBull putting their money?
Yeah, and I loved your point earlier, Christine, about crypto's market cap exceeding Apple's market cap. Now, Apple's about 2.45 billion, and of course, crypto's over 2 billion. So obviously, we're on all about Bitcoin, and so we do hold a strong position in Bitcoin. But what we've seen in the past is, of course, even in previously in this year when Bitcoin reached its all-time high, it did then slide for a couple of months as the alts gained steam. And so we do see Ethereum now gaining a lot of steam, other alts, Solana, and others gaining a lot of steam. Part of our strategy is to get into coins that aren't in the top 10, of course, and ones that we believe in and go further. But Bitcoin, I believe, is a leader, and we saw in years like 2019, Bitcoin way outpaced Ethereum. Bitcoin gained about 97% in 2019, while Ethereum lost, went negative 3%. So we'll see what the next year holds, but I think a basket is my answer to you.
I was just perusing Twitter, and Ryan Selkis of Masari is taking open bets that Bitcoin won't breach $100,000 by the end of the year. So I'm wondering, what do you think? Can you make any price predictions? What's your outlook on Bitcoin?
Yeah. I think so. BitBull's a little bit different than maybe other crypto hedge funds in that we try to take a little bit more sober perspective. And so I agree. I think we could say 80K by the end of the year, but I do not think we'll see 100K by the end of the year. We've been having some pretty conservative but also accurate estimates over the years. I know others have been predicting 100K by the end of the year since 2018. So I think 80K would be my estimate.
All right, Joe. Very, very sober view. Still looking bullish, though. That was BitBull Capital CEO Joe DiPasquale. Coming up, we'll look at Bitcoin top stories as well as a discussion with Apifiny. That's next. Welcome back. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau ordering 6 tech giants, including Facebook, Square, and PayPal, to hand over information relating to payments. The CFPB is tasked with ensuring competition is fair in payments markets in the United States and listed among its concerns whether the tech firms are engaging in invasive financial surveillance and combining consumer data they collect with their geolocation and browsing data, or whether they use it to deepen behavioral advertising, engage in price discrimination, or sell to third parties. Meanwhile, Sam Bankman-Fried's Bahamas-based crypto exchange FTX raising over $420 million in a Series B1 funding round. 69 investors, including BlackRock and Tiger Global, joined the fast-growing crypto conglomerate at a $25 billion valuation, and nearly 39% jump over the Series B sticker price from July, when it raised a whopping $900 million in crypto's largest ever venture capital funding round. FTX saying users have grown 48% in that period, and trading volume rose 75%. Finally, in other financing news, Copper, a provider of crypto services for institutions, is in talks over a $500 million funding round, valuing the firm at $2.5 billion, and a multi-billion-dollar rehabilitation plan for users affected by the collapse of the first Bitcoin exchange, Mt. Gox, has been approved. And finally, the Houston Firefighters Pension Fund is investing $25 million in Bitcoin and Ether in what appears to be the first for a U.S. public pension plan. Joining us now to discuss all this investment and other Bitcoin news is Haohan Xu, founder and CEO of Apifiny, a digital asset marketplace. Hi there, Haohan. So the crypto market cap is shattering records. Huge investments are being made in the space. What is your end-of-year forecast for Bitcoin's price?
Yeah, we think Bitcoin could very potentially reach 100,000, but conservatively, I think we agree with the BitBull folks. The Bitcoin will easily reach over 80K, and that's our forecast here.
And at the end of 22, what's your longer-term view?
The longer-term view is obviously very optimistic, given the recent launch of the ETF. There's been a lot of chatter in the crypto community about the ETF's ability to track Bitcoin. And I'm on the same page as those folks that this ETF is a very inefficient, expensive way to gain exposure to Bitcoin. However, the impact in the crypto space has been very positive so far. The launch of this ETF has sent Bitcoin to a new all-time high, right? And everyone in the community should be very grateful for that. So the upward momentum of Bitcoin has always been good to the community, and we know that. So SEC is taking a big step here. So there's enormous amount of advisor assets that wants exposure to Bitcoin, and this ETF gave a really good opportunity for them to do so. So you know that on BitO's second day listed, they passed 1 billion in volume, which is way above most people's expectations.
And it could soon open the door for a Bitcoin spot ETF. But you're debuting instant transfers of funds for institutional crypto traders today between different crypto exchanges, which presents a way to exploit arbitrage opportunities. And with the debut of the first U.S. Bitcoin futures ETF, can you perhaps walk us through how traders can take advantage of that?
Yeah, sure. So we're a digital asset network that provides institutions the navigation to the fragmented crypto market. So when new institutions get into the crypto market, they will realize their point of entry into the market all provide them very limited liquidity. This is because in crypto, each exchange is essentially their own marketplace. And like equities, where NYSE and NASDAQ, they hold most of the equity for a single asset. So Apifiny is the only global digital asset network that offers both instant transfers and institutional traders direct access to the order books of 25 centralized exchanges with lower costs than trading directly on those exchanges. So with the instant transfers, traders can transfer funds in seconds to purchase on one exchange, including Epiphany's own hybrid exchange, and sell on another exchange like Gemini or Coinbase. So instant transfer functionality can be activated in minutes without requiring exchanges to do any significant development work. So instant transfers enable traders to act on the best available price, exploit more arbitrage opportunities, and improve capital utilization by cutting cross-exchange transfer times from hours and minutes to just a few seconds.
So I'm curious, are you seeing a lot of people shorting these Bitcoin futures ETF and buying a Bitcoin, or any patterns that you're seeing?
We're definitely seeing a lot of people utilizing instant transfer just because previously, whenever you see an arbitrage opportunity between exchanges, you often have to account into the on-chain transfer time. But with the instant transfer feature enabled, we've seen a lot of demand of traders using our platform because now the transfer time between exchanges are almost non-existent. So traders are always buying high and selling low on different exchanges. And it's helped us with a lot of volume into our exchange partners.
Right. So, and just to go back on the Bitcoin futures, every month and so futures contracts roll or renew. And I'm just reflecting ByteTree Asset Management estimates this contango bleed in Bitcoin futures could be as high as 17%, and ProShares estimates an annualized 2.5% roll cost. So is it just not worth investing in a Bitcoin futures ETF? And does this spell volatility ahead, which is not good for a retail everyday trader?
That's a really good question, Christine. First of all, I think it is a good investment for some of the folks in the traditional financial market, and most of the guys in the crypto community will disagree with me on that. So if you look at it, a lot of people who speak the crypto language seem to forget how oblivious the traditional financial market players are to the crypto world. There are some solid reasons on why such a demand for this ETF exists. So for a lot of crypto native institutions like ourselves, we understand the fragmented market structure in crypto and are very comfortable with touching crypto directly through crypto exchanges and DeFi protocols even. But for a lot of old school institutions who have been in the traditional financial market for a very long time, they certainly do not. And when they ask questions like, where does Bitcoin trade? Who's the custodian for crypto? How do I transfer crypto? They have a very hard time understanding and getting comfortable with the answers they're getting, because there are no NASDAQ or NYSE in crypto. There is no DTCC in crypto. How crypto trades and how crypto clears and settles are very different from traditional assets. Luckily, there are folks like ourselves that can help them with that. The same phenomenon can be said about the young crypto native traders who has never touched a traditional financial market. They don't want to touch US dollar directly. They want to use stable coins because they're just a lot faster. They're asking questions like, what's a broker? Where do I hold these stocks at? What's the parallel of crypto wallet in the equity world? So because there's a huge difference between the two worlds, the ETF gives the traditional market players a way to gain exposure to Bitcoin in a way that they're comfortable with. And I think for that reason alone, justifies the existence of this ETF.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're going to be paying a hefty premium for it. All right, we got to end it there. But Haohan, thanks for joining us and offering your insights. That was Apifiny founder and CEO Haohan Xu. That's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in New York for First Mover, your first look at the day's global crypto news headlines. You're watching CoinDesk TV.